In a world crawling with monsters, there are heroes who slay them and protect the people, and they're called adventurers. They go on quests to collect items and hunt monsters, protecting the peace and making a quick gold coin while they're at it. Welcome to Please Don't Hurt Me, My Healer. Join us as we go through the first 4 episodes of this comedic anime. And if you'd like us to recap more of the episodes, let us know by liking this video. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next part. Or you could also watch some of our other videos just like this one. One of the heroes is Alvin, a human knight in full plate armor. He is wandering through the fields on one such quest when he runs into Magibeast, which looks like a brown bear with a horn of a rhino on its nose. They fight and struggle when a healer shows up behind them and asks Alvin if he is in need of any assistance. Realizing that he will need to answer this strange girl who apparently won't just help him but needs to ask, beg, and grovel for her help first, Alvin asks the Magibeast for a timeout so that he can deal with her. The Magibeast, also confused by this new development, politely stops attacking Alvin and waits for him to talk to the girl before they can continue fighting. The girl introduces herself as Karla, a dark elf healer, and she insists on Alvin begging and groveling on the ground to get her to help him. Alvin wasn't faring too well against the Magibeast, with whom he was fairly evenly matched, and he knows that the fight will go a lot smoother and easier with the help of Karla. So after some arguing, he finally gives in and gets on the ground to grovel. Karla starts preparing a spell to heal Alvin with, but she keeps belittling Alvin while she does it, which makes Alvin snap at her. This surprised Karla, making the spell she was preparing turn from a light color to a dark purple, and she accidentally aims it at Alvin's chest. He asks what that was all about, and she explains that since he interrupted her spell, her healing spell can actually turn into a curse. This curse will bring death to Alvin if he goes more than 300 meters away from Karla. At first, Alvin cannot believe this, but he recovers quickly and starts berating Karla for cursing him, demanding to lift the curse immediately. The Magibeast intervenes in their argument, acting as a mediator, trying to get them to understand each other's perspective. But while Alvin listens to the Magibeast attentively, Karla is dozing off on her feet. Alvin gets mad at this and starts yelling at her to respect her elders, since the Magibeast is a lot older than her. Karla looks 17 physically, but Alvin doesn't know how old she actually is. But before he can ask, the Magibeast gets flustered and hits him around the head, saying a man like him can't just go around asking women their age. This hit sends the knight flying, his helmet falling off and blood spattering on the ground. The Magibeast and Karla rush Alvin to the Magibeast den, where Alvin comes to consciousness, his face suspiciously never shown in the shot. Karla is sleeping behind a table near his bed, dressed in what reminds him of an outfit to curse someone in, not to heal them. And the Magibeast explains that the girl worked hard to heal him to full health. It introduces itself by its species name, the mostly bear, and she is actually a female mostly bear, which is what made her react so violently when Alvin asked Karla her age. Karla wakes up and first starts demanding thanks from Alvin for healing him, but before he can stop arguing with her about it, she starts fidgeting about something, saying she tried really hard but she couldn't fix it. Alvin is confused and presses her for more information, but the girl doesn't want to say it. In the end, the Magibeast is the one who breaks down under his interrogation, saying that it was his face. It was so badly damaged and that Karla really tried her best to bring it back to normal, but it still looks weird and dumb, barely passable for a human face. Mostly Bear hands Alvin a hand mirror in the shape of a teddy bear, while Karla cowers behind her. Alvin tries saying something to both of them, but Mostly Bear cracks, crying that Karla truly did her best to fix his face, that she really isn't to blame, and if someone is to blame, then blame her, the Magibeast, for inflicting such damage to him, mangling his features for the rest of his life. Alvin finally screams over to tell them both that he doesn't see what's wrong with his face, that it just looks the same as normal. An awkward silence follows. The Magibeast then leads Alvin to its storage room, where it keeps a bunch of adventurer's gear, back from Mostly Bear's youth when she hunted and killed adventurers for fun. There, Alvin equips his gear, and once he's back in his plate mail and with his helmet back on, he and the Magibeast declare themselves mortal enemies once more, promising to finish the fight they started when they meet again. Only one of them will walk away alive. Karla interrupts them, going on and on about how they can't be mortal enemies after everything they've been through. And what about all the trouble she and Mostly Bear went through to nurse Alvin back to health? He and Mostly Bear just stand there, really realizing that Carla didn't understand the formality of their declaration of war and that they're just pretending to be enemies because they are human and magibeast. To distract from her confusion, Carla demands payment for her services in the form of a mace she found while snooping in Mostly Bear's storage room, and the magibeast obliges. Alvin and Carla continue their way across the plains, and Alvin explains that he is actually going on a quest from the adventurer guilds to gather antidotal herbs. Carla points out that gathering herbs sounds like a quest given out to beginners, and Alvin gets offended at this but lets it slide. On their way across a forest, they come upon a graveyard that's infested with ghosts, and Alvin does his best to hack the ghost to pieces, but they just reconnect the pieces of their ghostly forms while he's not looking. All the while, Carla is giving very specific and hard to follow instructions on where Alvin should attack, which pisses Alvin off, and he stops fighting to yell at her, while the ghosts watch and make fun of them. Carla explains that his attacks weren't doing anything anyways, because he didn't use a silver weapon or magic, which are the only two things that could hurt the ghosts. Alvin points out that Carla knows magic and should be helping, but she counters that by saying that the only proper way to get rid of ghosts is to find out what keeps them halfway in the mortal realm and help them ascend to the afterlife. A nearby ghost explains that he died when he was 20 years old, shortly after getting his first girlfriend, and Carla points out that Alvin is 30 years old and hasn't had a girlfriend yet at all. This fact alone makes the ghost immediately ascend to the afterlife in delight that he isn't such a loser as Alvin. The next ghost explains that he was an adventurer, but that he died shortly into his adventuring career when he was killed by a medium-level monster. Carla asks Alvin how many monsters he can defeat right now, and he says he can handle 5 slimes at once, which makes the ghost ascend immediately, knowing that at least he wasn't such a weakling as Alvin was. Enraged by the humiliating experience of the graveyard, where Carla helped one ghost after another realize that they died achieving more than Alvin did so far in life, Alvin doesn't watch where he's going and falls into a goblin trap. He asks Carla to grab something resembling a rope, or intestines as she insists, and she isn't gone for long when she comes back with some help. That help ends up being a goblin, the very goblin that dug the hole Alvin is in the first place. Alvin gets mad at Carla for bringing a monster here, but the goblin just starts crying, saying that the hole was meant to catch a wild boar, and Carla makes Alvin apologize for ruining the goblin's boar trap. The goblin then runs off and brings his buddies who help drag Alvin out of the trap. After getting out of the forest, they are only one rocky mountainside away from the herbs they need to gather, but there is a cyclops in their way, so they hide behind some rocks. Alvin wants to avoid it, but Carla essentially calls him a coward, so Alvin asks her if she has any idea how to defeat a cyclops. She claims to know summoning magic, which apparently every hip healer knows, and that she could summon a low-level monster without even using a ritual. Alvin asks her to do just that, but changes his mind when Carla pulls a mass of writhing tentacles with eyes and mouths from a nearby boulder. He screams at her for being so creepy and asks her if she can summon anything stronger before the cyclops notices them, but Carla informs him that Alvin's screaming already alerted the cyclops to their hiding, and it wasn't watching them all along. The cyclops says it can wait while Carla summons something stronger, and Carla tries doing just that by sending a note in the form of a paper airplane into the sky, where it disappears and reappears shortly after. The monster she was trying to summon has replied that it is currently babysitting the neighbor's children and can't be summoned right now. Carla laments that this means they won't be able to get to the herbs, but the cyclops tells them it's fine, and he leads them to the herbs anyway since it knows the area well. Alvin and Carla are spending the night back in the forest around a campfire, and they argue because Carla isn't taking camping seriously, and she makes fun of him for taking it too seriously for someone so weak and inexperienced. Alvin is tired of her and wants to fall asleep, and Carla offers to sing him a lullaby. The first lullaby she sings is an intro to a metal song, which Alvin rejects. The second lullaby starts out pretty normally, but then turns into something about never-ending sleep and nightmares one can't wake up from until they die. But before Alvin can scream at her about it, a wolf-like magibeast comes from the forest and screams at them that it's late and it's time to sleep and be quiet. The next day, on their way through the forest, Alvin starts questioning whether or not Carla is even a healer like she claims to be. She says she can prove it by casting a spell, but since Alvin isn't injured, she can't cast a healing spell. Suddenly, a mushroom monster monster wanders by, so Alvin asks her to cast an enchantment spell on him. Karla obliges, but the spell looks suspiciously evil, so Alvin dodges it, and it hits the mushroom monster instead, which keels over. While Karla is doubting Alvin's actual strength, the mushroom monster springs to life and blows a purple cloud in their direction. Alvin assumes it's poison and starts panicking, and when the cloud clears, the mushroom is incapacitated, suffering from its own poison. Before Karla can fish out the antidotal herbs they gathered before to cure Alvin's minor cough, the mushroom springs up and says it wasn't poison, it was just pretending it was because Alvin thought it was poisonous. Karla is hungry from all this panicking and wants to eat the mushroom, saying that the enchantment spell actually enhanced its texture and mouthfeel. Alvin attacks it, but in a samurai-like sword attack, the monster wins, and it helps Karla carry Alvin away into a cave to recover and to hide from the rain. Alvin has a pretty nasty bruise from the attack, which Karla tries healing with a spell that looks suspiciously like a curse, but when she tries praying to God, she glows. But nothing happens except it stops raining, so they keep moving. The mushroom monster tags along and introduces itself as Alter Gaia, but Karla calls it Kinoko. The party arrives at their first dungeon, which advertises itself as super beginner friendly and safety guaranteed. Suddenly an eye appears above the entrance and declares that it needs to make sure that the party is worth entering the dungeon. After a quick analysis, it realizes that while Alvin is truly a beginner like he says he is in fact a level 100 beginner, and the eye lets them through into the dungeon. While muttering about vigilance and being on the lookout for traps and monsters, Alvin falls through a trap door in the floor, but he is unharmed because of the cushion at the bottom, and he climbs out easily with the help of the ladder installed in the wall. He tries turning on the lights to see the traps better, but instead of turning on the lamp above it, the switch he flips drops a pan on his head. Just a few steps later, he springs yet another trap, which makes the walls start to close in. But they're so gentle that Kinoko can stop them from crushing them in, and Karla finds a gate in the bars that trap them in. Kinoko and Karla start discussing how Alvin is triggering all these traps, which annoys the knight, but noticing this, Karla starts explaining to Kinoko that he is triggering them so they won't, since he can handle both the physical and emotional toll of being such a klutz. This doesn't make Alvin feel much better. They arrive at the end of the corridor, where there is a door with a doorbell, a note below it saying, "Press me, I'm a doorbell." Alvin doesn't trust it and starts overthinking the ways this could be a trap, but before he can gather up the courage to press it, Karla runs out of patience and simply breaks down the door. A minotaur emerges from the door, at first confused, and then it congratulates them on clearing the dungeon, leading them inside the boss room, which turns out to be pretty homely and domestic. The minotaur, the dungeon's master, questions Alvin on how come he triggered all of those traps. Alvin tries avoiding the question, but the minotaur quickly deduces that he is actually a complete beginner and starts mocking him. Karla steps up and lies that they lost people to those traps that Alvin triggered, which makes the minotaur despair. Naturally, Karla demands compensation for their lost comrades, but all the minotaur can give her is a coin pendant that he gives out to adventurers that clear his dungeon. The dungeon officially cleared, they have a little feast where Karla admits that this was her first time clearing a dungeon, and Alvin also thinks about his past failures to join a team and go adventuring together, so he lets her be the MVP of their first dungeon clear. They make their way back outside where the minotaur and the eye wave them off, and they are on their way again. Karla looks lovingly at her coin medallion souvenir, tucking it away underneath her healer robes, while Kinoko runs off, chasing a butterfly. The two adventurers aren't worried about that, even though he was wearing their bag. Where did Kinoko go? Do the two adventurers realize that not only did he run off with their supplies, but also the herbs they should turn in sometime soon? And what will happen first? Karla lifting the 300-meter death curse she put on Alvin, or Alvin accepting and befriending Karla? Like this video if you'd like us to recap the rest of this anime, and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.